Hello and welcome to a new video. This week's video is all about going grey and how to adapt your colour palette if you are going grey. I know that as we've come out of lockdown, a lot of women have decided not to bother with the hassle and the upkeep of having their hair coloured, and so they're embracing that natural grey. And there are some misconceptions about going grey, and the most common one being that if you have grey hair, you're a cool. And I don't believe that's strictly true. So I wanted to talk you through the different colour dominants and what happens when you go grey and which colours will work best on you. So let's get into the video and I'll explain what I mean. Okay, so the first thing to mention, if you haven't watched one of my videos before, if you're new here, is that I don't work with the seasonal colour analysis. I think it's too restrictive. And I have developed my own method of doing colour analysis. It is based on the dominant system, but when I do colour for a client, I do adapt those colours to personally suit them. So with the dominant system, there are, you start with 6 colour types. Now, if you want a better understanding of this, I will link a video here of how the dominant system works, just to make more sense to you, because I don't want to go through explaining all of that again in this video. So with your 6 colour types, you have light, deep, warm, cool, bright and soft. And what I wanted to do was talk you through how going grey affects those 6 colour types. Now those colour types are expanded further depending on your skin tone and how dark or how light you are in colouring. So for example, with the light, we have light and cool or a light and warm. That means they are light in colouring, but they either have a cool skin tone or a warm skin tone. And that's true for each of them, except for the dominant that is cool and the dominant that is warm. With those two, we determine whether you're cool and bright colouring or cool and soft or muted colouring. And the same with warm. Are you warm and bright or are you warm and muted? So I'm going to try and go through most of those categories and explain what happens when you have got grey hair. Now, if you're cool in colouring, you probably have already gone grey, and so I won't really be addressing that dominant type. So let's start with the light woman, and I'm going to slot in some pictures because I think it makes it easier to explain, and hopefully as we go through you might see yourself in one of these types and you might see what started to happen to you as your hair has gone grey. So with our light woman, she looks best in light colours because then they don't overpower her, because she's very fair skinned and she has very light hair. Now typically with somebody who has very light hair, when they start to go grey, their hair will just lighten. You won't necessarily see silver grey in there. What you might see is more white. And so I wouldn't put those people, I wouldn't move them from that light category into a cool category. I'd keep them in the light category. But what I might do is adapt the colours that are in that light category. I'm going to pop in here a lady with light cool colouring, and her colours won't change too much as she goes grey, because she's still going to look good in those light blues, those light sea greens, those delicate pinks, lavenders, that kind of thing. But if you're somebody who has got a warm skin tone, and this is where this big misconception comes in, that if you've got grey hair, you must be cool. Well, if you've got a warm skin tone, that isn't true, because obviously they're completely opposite. If you've got a warm skin tone, you aren't cool. So if I show you here a picture of a lady who's got light warm colouring, and then show you a lady who is going grey with light warm colouring, you can see that what happens is that sort of silver mixes in with her light blonde hair. So I wouldn't give her cool colours. I would keep her colours warm, but again, I would lift them. So I would make sure that they didn't overpower her. I'd give her lots of lovely sort of light greens, light peachy pinks, because she looks better in those peaches rather than those sort of cooler pinks. I'd give her some lovely sort of teals and turquoises, but again, I'd keep them quite light. So moving on to the lady who has deep colouring, and this was me. I had deep, strong, warm colouring when I was in my 30s. I had very dark hair. As I've got older, I've lifted that colour a little bit. But over the lockdown, I did get a lot of grey in my hair. I have actually had it done now because I decided that I wasn't ready to go grey yet. What the grey does on a deep person is it starts to soften their look. So if I pop in here a picture of a lady with deep colouring, now as she starts to go grey, what will happen is it breaks up that very dark colour. And I'm now going to put in a picture of a lady who possibly did have deep warm colouring and has now gone grey, and you can see that it's really kind of softened her look. So again, because she has a warm skin tone, I wouldn't give her cool colours. I'd move her from that deep palette into the softer palette, and what that means is the colours would soften a little bit, but they would also lighten a bit. So I'd probably take black out of her palette. As a deep, she would have had black. I would probably take some of the very sort of dark colours out of her palette and give her some softer, slightly lighter, kind of from mid-tone to light rather than going into the very deep. I wouldn't necessarily put too dark colours on her, which you could do as a deep. I would now start to put two sort of mid-toned and blended softer colours together. So I'm going to pop some colours in here for this lady that I think would look better than those stronger, darker colours. Now, if you were, so that was talking about the lady who was deep and warm. If you're a lady who is deep and cool, then as you go grey, there is a good chance that you will move into the into the cool palette. Because if we take this lady here, you can see that that grey hair is giving her a cool, steely look, even though she still has those very dark eyes, and obviously she's got a dark skin tone. So we'd move her into the cooler palette, and what that would do is it would give her some brighter colours. It would also still keep black in her palette, and we could give her a little bit more contrast because she can still wear those dark colours, but she'd look great with those mixed with some of these sort of fuchsia pinks and brighter blues. So I'll slot some colours in here to show you what I mean by that. And then I've got one other lady here that I wanted to show you who would have fallen into the deep palette because she had dark hair and dark eyes. But you can see now that she's starting to go grey. And because she's going grey, again, that has really softened her look. So I would still keep some of those darker, stronger colours in there for her, but I would also bring in some softer, more blended colours as well. Now, if we move on to the ladies who fall into the warm category. Now, ladies who are warm will have red or golden hair. They will definitely have warmth in their colouring. So you can see from the pictures that I've got here, we've got somebody who is a true warm, Julianne Moore, so she's got really red hair. And then we've got somebody like Sarah Ferguson, who is also a warm. Now, as these start to go grey, again, because they do have that definite warm skin tone, we're not going to move them into a cool palette. Again, what we are likely to do here is soften and perhaps lighten their palette. So typically, somebody who is warm in colouring can get away with those sort of oranges, the real buttercup yellows, marigolds, that kind of thing, and the really warm greens. Now, as they get grey in their hair, some of those colours might look too harsh on them. So what we might do, for example, rather than a lime green, we might soften them into a moss green. Rather than an orange, we might soften them a little bit into peaches. And again, what we might do is, rather than give them very dark colours, keep them from those mid-tone to those lighter colours. So we could bring in some pastels to soften their look as well. Now with the bright lady, again, we've got either bright and cool or bright and warm. Somebody who is bright and cool would typically have dark hair, very pale skin, and bright eyes. So I'll pop a picture in here for you. Now this lady, if she goes grey, is likely to go very silvery grey, and in her case we would move her into the cool palette. And because she originally had that bright colouring, we would make her cool and bright rather than bright and cool. And the difference between these two, I know it's a little bit confusing, but the difference is that you think about what that first word is. So when she was bright and cool, her first word was bright. So she would look good in bright contrasting colours, but colours that had a cool undertone. When she moves into the cool palette, she looks better in those cool, icy colours, and she can use contrast. So what she might do here is perhaps have a navy with an icy lavender or an icy pink or an icy green. That's giving her that contrast that still works for her cool, bright colouring. So that's our bright, cool lady. Now, if we move on to our bright, warm lady, and I'm going to pop again a picture in here to show you somebody who's got bright colouring but a warm skin tone. So you can see that her eyes are really vivid, and that's what makes her bright. Now, if she starts to go grey, she'll still have those lovely bright eyes, she'll still have that warm skin tone, but what you might see is within that grey hair, you might still see some sort of flecks of gold. And the lady that I've got here as an example, she does have flecks of gold in her eyebrows and a little bit in her hair. So with her, again, we're not going to give her cool colours because she doesn't have a cool skin tone. We're going to give her warmer colours, but we're going to make them slightly softer and slightly lighter because some of that contrast has gone from her overall look. So we just want to soften those colours a little bit and lighten them, because the effect of the grey hair is probably that it's going to lighten her overall look as well. And then finally we come to the lady with soft dominant colouring. If she's soft and cool, it's very likely that her hair will go silvery and that she will move into the cool dominant. This time, because she had soft as her original dominant, she'd become cool and soft. So unlike the lady who was cool and bright, we don't want to give her too much contrast. She's going to look great in a blend of blues, especially will look really good on her. Pinks, again the lavenders, the sea greens, and we'd keep them lighter. And then for the lady who is soft and warm, again, you probably realise by now she's not going to move into the cool category. She's probably going to stay within the soft category because what will happen with that grey hair is it's going to become sort of salt and peppery. It's going to blend really well. And so it's going to keep that sort of overall muted blended look that she has. Again, what might happen is if she had brown hair like me, as I get that grey hair coming in, it would soften my look even more. And so it would also lighten it a bit as well. So what I might do is move away from some of the darker colours and move more into the centre of the depth palette. So rather than going for a very dark brown, I might go for a coffee brown or a camel. And rather than going for a very dark pine green, I might go for a softer olive green. So again, I'm going to put some colours in here to show you how that works. Now, I hope that made sense. It is a little bit confusing. If you would like some help, I do my personalised colour service. Every palette is personalised to the individual. We do start with the dominant palette, so I would tell you what your dominant colouring is. I would tell you what your secondary colouring is. I give you the standard palette of colours, but then I also give you additional colours specific to you. And what I might also do is say, this is the standard palette of colours, but these couple I don't think really work on you, so I'll move them out. And I'll give you another set of colours that does work on you. It also tells you all about what jewellery colours to wear, if you wear glasses, which glasses colours work for you. It talks about how to mix your colours together. If you are going grey or you want to go grey, then if you tell me that, I'll give you advice for how to adapt your colours to going grey. It also gives you some outfit ideas to show you how to put outfits together with your colours. And finally, it gives you a complete makeup prescription telling you which colours will work for you in my Tropic skincare makeup. So if that's something that you're interested in, I will leave a link in the description box. I will also leave you a 10% discount code that you can use as well. But other than that, if you have any questions, again, please leave them down in the comments section. I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. If you're new here, please subscribe. I try and create a video once a week. They're full of tips and information about colour and style, especially for you if you're over 50. So if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.